Be seated. Vanity of vanities, says the teacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. But you can almost hear the hippies saying, man, that's deep. It's the type of statement that strikes us as important. And with all profound statements, it takes a lifetime to understand and put its wisdom into practice. This proclamation comes to us today from a preacher millennia ago. And it's full of wisdom that all humans need to hear. As profound as it is also jarring. It shakes us from our complacency and our dependency on perishable things. We turn our possessions and desires into idols when they take the place of God in our lives. It is our relationship with God that is lasting and transformative. Our possessions, our work, and even our relationships with each other come and go. They do not last. Only our relationship with God continues, regardless of the changes in our lives. It is that relationship that provides love, healing, satisfaction, and transforming power. And as it does, it produces and generates a lasting heritage. There's an old story about an epitaph written on a grave marker from the 4th century in Turkey. It says, "Here sleeps the blessed Chione, who has found Jerusalem, because she prayed much." There is nothing else known about Chione. Her legacy reminds us that our relationship with God through prayer is what is lasting. And the rest is vanity. Vanity of vanities, says the teacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. In the second lesson, we hear Paul speaking of greed. Greed is a sin. It is a sin because we make things, and we make the things we want idols to us. We say they will provide comfort and peace. If I have that, I will be happy. One is usually not enough either, right? We want more. There's an old adage that I know from the toy train collectors. He who dies with the most toys wins. Well, there's only one polite word for that. All alone. Paul instructs us to put death to our greed that's in our lives. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't enjoy our world or the things that are around us, but we really need to remember that it is fleeting. We are only stewards of what we have. Soon it will pass to another. This stuff doesn't provide any lasting security, peace, or comfort. Paul is telling us to clothe ourselves in a new self. And this new self realizes that the stuff is not the most important thing. Spend a lifetime accumulating things that we give the next moment. God is most important. God will provide all we need and calls us to be stewards of many things. God's provision is constant. And as the perishable disappear, new evidence of God's love for us will replace it. On a walk this week, I came out on Main Street, and turned east. It was about 5:45 a.m. and the sky was a beautiful red. It was one of those sunrises which one remembers. And I stopped in my walk and admired what I was seeing. I thanked God for the beauty of this place. 5 minutes later, it was gone. Yet its legacy to me was the beauty that our God has created. Paul finishes this section of the letter to the Colossians by saying, Christ is all and in all. When we experience what is around us, we can understand that Christ is with us. As we remember Paul saying that love of God transforms us, and we take on a new self. In the gospel today, a person from the crowd confronts Jesus. Jesus calls this person friend. So many of Jesus' stories start with a person asking a question. And in general, the person is confrontation. We read about them saying something like, "We're to test Jesus." Somebody said something. That part is missing in the story. Jesus recognizes this person as a friend. There's no testing. It is the natural cycle of teaching. It goes from the teacher's instruction to the student's questions. The person just wants to understand. He presents to Jesus a family dilemma. His brother is not sharing the inheritance with him. Jesus responds with instruction and story. And it seems like maybe that his instructions are not for the person in the crowd, but maybe to their brother. Both the instruction and the story speak about greed. Jesus tells this story. The rich man is so productive that he requires more storage for his stuff. He makes plans to pull down the barn and build a bigger one. He thinks that new storage facility will solve all his problems, and then he can celebrate. We all love that wine, right? Eat, drink, and be merry. God calls him a fool. This is his last day on earth, and all he can think about is taking care of his stuff. How foolish we can be. The only question about our stuff is, who will get it next? Jesus ends his story by saying, "So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God." Jesus wants us to turn to God and become rich in knowledge and wisdom of God. As we turn to God, God's wisdom permeates our hearts, souls, and spirits. Our God lasts, is eternal, is transforming, transformation. From God comes all things. God's presence strengthens us and heals us. One day, St. Teresa sat in the chapel to pray. And as she sat there, she realized that one of the candlesticks was leaning to one side. This thought was in her head and was nagging at her. Every time she opened her eyes, the candle distracted her from her prayer. As she continued her prayer, she prayed that God would remove the distraction. She couldn't focus on God during her prayer. As she prayed, she heard Just go straighten the candle. So she stood up, straightened the candle, sat back down. This action relieved the distraction. As she returned to her prayer, the nagging distraction, it was just a memory. This is what things do to us. We get so focused on the perfection of things, we become distracted from the true essence. This is why there are no mistakes in liturgy. It is our presence and God's presence that matter, not whether the candles are stripped. All the resources we have can disappear. Even our relationships with each other can change in the blink of an eye. If these things take God's place, then we will miss the healing, the transformation that God has for us. Focus is on God and what God is doing. And from that, all other things flow. Not as we will, but as God shows God's love for us. Citizens of the United States find these statements difficult to hear and put in place. We train ourselves to be self-sufficient, and that requires that we have more. We need more stuff, more money, more property. A study asked people of all different economic brackets one question: how much is enough? From the poorest to the richest, the answer is the same. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. We have always wanted more. Our focus is on accumulating things. It all leads to greed. God is saying to us, come to me. Allow me to provide for you. Focus on our relationship, and the rest will happen. Through our relationship with God, we find true comfort, peace, and fulfillment. We learn to let go of those things that don't placate our deepest needs. It is time to turn to God and discover the fullness of life. Jesus says, take care. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. Jesus really is echoing what the ancient preacher said. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity.